There are some people who don't want the truth to be told, and the truth will have to be told. The truth, it is unfortunate that there is a female Indian journalist. I don't consider her a journalist because she's done so much work against national interest. She's compromised the identity of people. In 2611, she's compromised the identity of Indian Army people when they have been in combat. This kind of person, this person has been caught in the middle of a massive, massive corruption scam, trying to influence cabinet positions, or at least claiming that in the case of the Neera Radia case. This person has also been given praise by Hafiz Saeed. So the Lashkar-e-Toiba chief has praised this person. There are people like this who call themselves journalists. Imagine if you get praise from Hafiz Saeed, you should just quit the profession. But this person continues. It's a shame, ladies and gentlemen. And there are many people who are Mir Jafars who have begun commenting against national interest. There is one YouTuber who says that the strategic deliberations that the Indian Army, the Indian Air Force, the National Security Advisor, the Indian Navy, the Defense Minister, the Foreign Minister, the Home Minister are all having with the Prime Minister. He's saying on his YouTube channel that these are khokli charchaएं. This YouTuber is working against national interest in my view. If you say these are khokli charchaएं, you are trying to imply that Bharat is incapable of real action. This is exactly what Pakistan wants India to believe and to project. I am asking you viewers, do we need these anti-national YouTubers, ladies and gentlemen, to be allowed to be given a free run in this country? How much do we tolerate? We have a person who calls herself a journalist in this country who has been praised by Hafiz Saeed. These are the limits of democracy, ladies and gentlemen. Limits of democracy. And these, because we keep stretching the limits and these people keep stretching the limits, they weaken Indian democracy. They put out a narrative which is the narrative of the enemy. And then they go and take selfies with Nawaz Sharif and his daughter. You know who I'm talking about. These are people who are working against national interest. Ladies and gentlemen, there is another person, another anti-national who calls herself a journalist, who blames the Prime Minister for not taking a press conference after Pahalgam. And she writes, in any functional democracy, the Prime Minister would have taken a press conference to show transparency. Incredible, ladies and gentlemen. They expect the Prime Minister to be communicating India's strategic decisions second by second. These people want to put a trap for the Indian Prime Minister. They have no loyalty for the country. I would say at this point of time, the government of India should conceal its strategy. These are people who are Pakistan's agents. They want India to reveal its strategy. These same people have no outrage for Pakistan. They have no condemnation of Pakistani terrorism. There is no demand for action. There is only continuous attacks at the elected leadership of India, which is again Pakistan's line. And I am asking you tonight, do we allow these anti-national people who are working against national interests to get away? There is another person, ladies and gentlemen. I think she works for the Wire, the same Wire which is taking a Pakistani line. I just feel, in the context of the Wire, not specifically but generally, don't you believe that all so-called senior editors or editors of news organizations, even small websites like the Wire, don't you believe all senior editors should be Indian nationals? And I am asking the Wire to make a disclosure of the nationality of their editors. I hope they have nothing to hide. In any case, this person says that, she says, a terror attack in Kashmir and suddenly Kashmiris across the mainland are being attacked and harassed. This is the reality of India's so-called integration and a total failure to distinguish between civilians and militants. First, I want to deconstruct this person's language. What are militants, bhai? Why can't you call them terrorists? Are you getting paid? by the Pakistanis or India's enemies not to call them terrorists? Why can't you use the language that you need to use? Why do you all people want to use Al Jazeera language, BBC language? What do you mean by so-called integration? When you say so-called integration, what do you mean? Are you trying to put out a line like Jammu and Kashmir is not a part of India? How can you take that line against national interests, speak against India's sovereignty and expect to get away with it? You see, viewers, I am putting a simple question to you. Here we are as a nation, it is time for us to decide. Can we allow a tukde gang in the Indian media to proliferate in the Indian media and take the cover of the Indian media to do their dirty job? How long, ladies and gentlemen, do we tolerate a situation where there are members of the Indian media who have been praised by Hafiz Saeed, who still continue to go around and do what they call to be journalism? These are same people who had no sympathy for what the Kashmiri Pandits went through. They tried to put so-called justifications for the genocide of Kashmiri Pandits. We've tolerated for the longest time. And we've done so because these people take a cover of freedom of expression. Look at their argument, ladies and gentlemen. Look at their argument. If Republic Media Network questions the targeting of Hindus in Murshidabad, they say we are misusing freedom of expression. But they want to take a line promoting Pakistani line, enemy line in our country, and they say it's an exercise of their freedom of expression. How can there be dual standards on matters like this? At a moment like this? How can you try and shift the goalpost at a time when the nation is under attack? So it's a moment for us to choose. We have to decide, ladies and gentlemen, we have to decide. I don't believe in things like a complete boycott, but I do believe in calling out the people in our own country who are working against Bharat's interest. It's time to choose.